didn't realize the decision, right? That vow that I had made within that was literally keeping me poor, keeping me from abundance, keeping me from even entertaining the possibilities that something was different.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. We have another incredible guest. Oh my gosh, guys, I have heard from countless people truly that they have, these past traumas, right? This life, past, well, through my energy scanner, I know like all the trauma for you healers out there, especially that I reach, and you've been persecuted. Recently, one of my colleagues said, if you're a healer, you have past life trauma. I'm like, you know what? I think in every scan I've done for a healer, that's true. So yeah, if you've got traumas around wealth, using your gifts, this, that, the other thing, all those type of things, all those things will be addressed, especially the prosperity vibe. We've been brought into a place where it's like, you got to be like this to make it to the top. And Nan's going to absolutely explode those ideas and help you to find something deeper. We're even going to be talking about, I don't know, I'm probably getting the name wrong, but these abundance grandmothers or whatever, she'll tell you the appropriate name. But, we've got these great energies to tap into, but we've got to wake up to them. Start utilizing the magic we have available to us. And Nan's a master at that. So Nan, I'm so grateful you're here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here again. It's amazing, when I think about how long we've known each other.
Yeah, it's been decades. I want to say it's been a while.
Yeah, we're one of some of those early pioneers on the internet, aren't we?
Yes, we're here and going strong. All right. Nan, you have an amazing background, yet you've got this all down into this pithy bio, which I love that. So Nan Akasha, the fairy goddess mother, Jaguar medicine woman, spiritual mentor and healer, Celtic and Mayan shaman. She's priestess of Isis, Athena as sacred feminine Celtic traditions, multidimensional channel, seer, oracle, master energy healer. She has a whole background in hypnosis too, and there's all kinds of stuff. But Sacred Magic Mystery School founder is a visionary who has traveled dimensions for 36 years and embodies Akasha, of course, Nan Akasha. So Nan, your energy is just so wonderful, so yummy. It's always like fun when I reach out, connect with you. You're like, yeah, I'm swimming with the dolphins, or I'm with the dolphins now, or something like that. It's always something cool sounding, right? What you're up to, what you're working with or together with at that time, or where you're traveling to, and you could live a really magical, prosperous life. I always like to get the backstory on that, though. I mean, as they say, it hasn't always been that way. And tell us a little bit about, we were just talking about our roots a little bit. I'm here in the Chicago area. I've left temporarily for a few years here and there, but pretty much I've been here my whole life. You grew up as a Hinsdale girl here in the suburbs of Chicago. So
Yes.
you mentioned you didn't come from, I said, people in Hinsdale, you're all rich out there is what my dad had told me. And you're like, yeah, not so much. So I'd love to hear more about your roots, what kind of, brought you to this magical land you're in now. Because otherwise people were like, well, I don't know, she doesn't. She probably magical her whole life like that.
Right. I know. No.
Born in Hinsdale, right?
No, I was born in Cook County Hospital, right downtown Chicago, right? That there, and I was adopted. So I was born, and I'm a gray market baby. I was sort of handed under the table and said, "Here, you want a baby?" And ended up, I lived there for about 9 years before we moved over to Europe. So I grew up for 10 years in Europe, and then I came back, went to college, and then I started to travel and living all over the US, and now I live in the Yucatan. And I live on the beach. I do live literally my bliss life, but I have to tell you, I don't live my bliss life because everything was perfect. I made $1 million and I kept it. I live my bliss life because I was successful and then I lost it all. And then I was successful and then I lost it all. And then I was successful and I lost it all. So like everybody else, I've done this.
Mm,
And until I really realized that's kind of why we're here. You
mm,
know, we didn't come into a body to just go, oh, I did it perfect and I keep going up, 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 and I make more money every day and everybody loves me and I'm skipping with the fairies and therefore I'm perfect. And if anybody is posturing that or being an influencer or trying to convince you there's something wrong with you because they did it and they were perfect, it's a BS job, okay? Because there isn't anybody, you probably know this too. I've had clients who are multimillionaires
yes.
and they have their own problems. They have their own fears. I mean, I remember I was actually staying with one, invited me to his house in Barbados, and we went off and we were playing and just having fun. We weren't doing work or anything, but I was doing that deeper energy work, that deep mindset work with him. And it's fascinating. I used to work with a lot of movie stars, a lot of very famous people, and you would be shocked at what's actually going on in their heads because what you see out there is one thing. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily fake. It just means that, of course, what you're going to post on Facebook is, oh, I had a happy day, not, oh my God, my life's falling apart. And so the thing is that when we have that false illusion, right, of it, we're trying to achieve something. So I was raised in the Midwest like you with that good hard work ethic. Work hard, suffer, suffer, suffer. Don't stop. The more you suffer, the better person you are. And maybe one day you'll get an approval, a pat on the back, but probably not. And so I wanted to be loved. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like my family. So I was achieving, and learning and learning and learning. You know, there's a good part of that. Like everyone else, I wanted to be the best at everything I did. So I became very good at sports and I became very good at this and I got good grades and I did all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with any of that except for the underlying energy. So you and I are energy workers and we know that the energy that you do something with, the energy you build your business with, the energy you look for your soulmate with, the energy that you do whatever with is the energy that you're putting into it. It's like the ingredients you're putting into a brick for your house, right? And it's going to be in there affecting it. So of course, like everyone else, at some point I worked really hard and I went to college and I got a degree in fashion design and I moved to LA and I worked for some people and I started my own business and I exploded to $1 million in sales the first year. And 3.5 years later, at the end of the 80s, I was closing it. I was turning 30. I was completely confused. I had no idea what the hell had happened. I thought, what's wrong with me? I did everything right. I literally took all the money I was making and channeled it back into my business. I did not understand anything else. I lived off credit cards. So there I was sitting there feeling like a failure, feeling like everything I'd ever done was a waste of time, feeling embarrassed that my family had, supported me, believed in me, said, yeah, you can do it. And there I was standing there as a failure. And I believed all these horrible things about myself because that had happened. And I didn't know, being a good little Midwestern girl, that people didn't pay their bills. I literally didn't know that. So when the stores started saying, well, I'm not going to pay you, and then the big department stores went bankrupt and didn't pay me, and then the catalogs went bankrupt and didn't pay me, I was just standing there in complete shock. It was what I call a deconstruction. So now many of us know, especially if they're listening to your podcast, that these huge deconstructions in our lives are an opportunity for liberation, right? We're being freed from a mindset, from a way of life, from a relationship, from a job that is not optimal for our soul. And there's something new and it's time to move on. And does it mean we always have to have an epic breakdown? No, but if that's the best way for it to happen in that moment, okay. I remember thinking, oh, I'm late, for my job and I da da da. And then I had a spiritual teacher say to me, well, what if you had been on time to leave for your job and you got in a horrible accident? Wouldn't it be nice to just trust that wherever you are is right? You're in the right place at the right time and it's unfolding in the right way and it's unfolding for you. And that's very difficult for us because we've been taught to work hard and control everything. So that deconstruction, like everybody else's, did end up being one of my favorite things that ever happened in my life because it's what got me on my spiritual path. I had no spiritual or religious upbringing whatsoever. And because literally everything I believed in fell apart and I was standing there like in shock, I started going, well, what else is there? And this is pre-internet, okay? Way back in the olden days. And luckily I lived in LA and there was the Bodhi tree. I went there and I started to look up weird spiritual books and read Seth and Jane Roberts and the Nature of Personal Reality, which will, you know, and I was learning meditation and I was reading about people channeling dolphins from another planet. And I was just, it was all just so weird. And I didn't know if I believed it. I just knew I needed a different context for life. And then I kept asking what's underneath that and what's underneath that. And that's when I got to energy. And it was learning all the different energy methods, learning animal communication. I moved to New Mexico. I didn't want to be around people. I worked with animals and I started meeting the most amazing people. And I went deeper and deeper into energy medicine, Rife, and radionics, which people have actually kind of know about now, but back in the day they didn't. And I started to travel the world and study with shamans, and I started to find mystery schools, and I became a 5th level Melchizedek master. And the reason why I was driven to all of that was this constant need for pain to be released. That a pain of believing I wasn't good enough, the pain of wondering why I can't have what I want, the pain of chasing goals that weren't right for me, but I didn't know that, just like everyone else. So I went through that and I built this big belief system, and I was trying to get pregnant and have a baby, and I got pregnant, and then my daughter died, and that entire belief system fell apart too. And I stood there saying, well, I hate God and I hate all that stuff. Now what? And that just kept happening. I had a 25-year marriage that I wanted out of, and that divorce ended in bankruptcy. I lost 80 properties and $1 million home and literally everything, and didn't know how to feed my children. My mother disowned me. So I can tell you, I have been up and down this life. And what I know now is I love all of it. I love the sweet and the sour. I love the pain and the past. Of course, I don't want to have my daughters die. I adopted baby twins that are 27 now. I found my soulmate while I was going through my divorce. He stayed with me from being a millionaire to being poor to now. But my life right now is more peaceful, more joyful, more aligned with my truth. I live on the beach, which I always wanted, and it didn't happen because any of those other ideas were successful. In fact, when I decided after I arrived here in Mexico, I was only going to stay a few months and start traveling the world. And 9 years later, I'm still here. So those beautiful things that the infinite intelligence has for you are waiting out there, and you don't necessarily know what they are. So when we try to control it, when we think we know what's right, and what's what we were all taught, right? Is be responsible, be practical, have your goals, know what you're doing. If we don't surrender some of that to this magic, to this wisdom of the universe, we're going to miss the really blissful stuff. And so I stayed here. It was not easy. However, I fell in love with it. The shamans appeared, the Jaguar spirit appeared, the Mayans appeared. I started doing retreats at the pyramids. I started kissing and doing energy work with dolphins, like you mentioned. I mean, true lifelong dreams, things I never imagined how I could have done. And when I moved over here, I was living and renting on the beach. My partner had a massive Kundalini awakening / seizure, couldn't function. I was having to move him constantly because it's a very seasonal place. People wanted to use their houses during the summer. And one day I just said, I had let go of everything in my divorce and my bankruptcy and my real estate investing business. I just said, I don't want to ever own another thing again. That was horrible. And I didn't realize the decision, right? That vow that I had made within that was literally keeping me poor, keeping me from abundance, keeping me from even entertaining the possibilities that something was different. And my daughter said, why don't you just get a little shack on the beach? And I was like, well, I don't know. Why don't I? And so I started going out on the beach every day, and I started looking up and down as the sun was coming up and going down and saying, oh, what would it be like to live on the beach? What would it be like to own my own place on the beach? I didn't care if it was fancy. I didn't care what it was. I just thought, wow, that'd be amazing. I could have hot water. That's not something they have here on the beach. And so that manifested out of nothing. I didn't have good credit. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have any of these things that people think they had to have to manifest the life I have. And I live in bliss every day because I do what I love. I get to, know people like you. I get to work with clients and travel the dimensions and do this mystical, magical work. And I don't worry about that I'm not a multimillionaire and I'm not, this important person and that important person. I have a beautiful, harmonious relationship with my parents again. My children. I'm going to England in a couple of weeks to teach a course, to speak at a conference, and to lead a retreat. These are just exquisite to me. and they don't have to unfold in a certain way. I keep allowing the universe to bring it to me. So I really want everybody to get that you don't have to have a certain upbringing, a certain education, a certain body, a certain partner, a certain title. None of that is required. Everything is already done and it is already available to you. And there's certain ways of accessing it or connecting to it that isn't what we were taught.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot there. I mean, a lot of meat on the bone or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much of this trauma on so many levels we could look at, the trauma of, I mean, I think about so many things at times. I mean, I'm a deep thinker. I like to think anyway. So, but I have to think about that more deeply though, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I think about, like the other day, I was like, yeah, sometimes I go on these retreats and we're all eating the same food, we're all doing the same activities every day, and it doesn't really matter, what your background is, how much money you got, what your marital status is, this or that, or we're just what age you are, anything. All we know is like, we're all here together. We're all joined together in unity consciousness here. When we go to these type of places, right? Meditation retreat, spiritual retreat, whatever kind of retreat it is, you offer retreat, whatever retreat it may be. All we know is we're just here to take this thing in. We're riding the cosmos here together, right?
Yeah.
And all these other concepts go away. But when we're in our for most of us, that are in here in the States or wherever around the globe, many places where Western mind or whatever we want to call it, we're thinking about, well, how am I doing? And did I get married yet? How many kids do I have? Am I going to have more? How much money do I got? How much money should I have? Oh my God, can I pay my bills? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I could have made more money by now. Why am I not making more money? I keep trying to make more money. I've been allowing. I've been sitting here. Why is that? So all these things are going on. But the funny thing is if I just take those people, I drop them into a retreat center, which people say, well, that's not unrealistic. You can't live in that kind of energy all the time. But I would contend that Nan sort of does. If you were living that energy every day, you don't necessarily care about that anymore. I'm not making it right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, you literally start to not care about that anymore. You're just in a whole different place. So from the dimension of where you're coming from, because I see so many perspectives, I think we're all in these different places in our journeys, right? But for people that feel like, yeah, I've gone through enough damn trauma trying to make money, or I have made the money and then crashed, and now I can't find meaning and purpose in my life, or I can't seem to figure out what's next, or to make that money now to even be able to get by like you felt there for a while, or I can't seem to bring it back in though. Yeah, I'm chilling out, doing the spiritual stuff, but I can't seem to get my wave to come in financially or with my prosperity. Where do you kind of start with those people are dealing with all these questions and the trauma they've been through and whatnot? Where are some of the places you like to start and trying to help them? Because they know there's more for them. There's more abundance, more purpose, or whatever. There's more there. They could just be like, namaste, it's all good. We're just all in this container together, whatever. But they sense there's more for them to say yes to.
Absolutely. And there is. And that's why we're infinite beings. Oh, my cat is here, probably looked very weird to you. Get down, baby girl.
Oh, this is good. That's good.
So yes, we have that sense that we're designed for something bigger. And yet we have the programming, right, of what that's supposed to be, what that's supposed to look like. And we're supposed to fit into everybody else's opinions and live everyone else's lives. And so the first place to look at is, who have you put into a place of authority? Where have you given your power, so to speak, over to? Is it your gender? Is it your parents? Is it your job? Is it your partner? Is it some ideal of yourself that you took on and maybe you don't really even care about anymore, but you're carrying it around and holding it over yourself? And we haven't really been given the full truth, and we haven't been given the truth for a very long time on the planet for different reasons throughout history. But if you number one, you got to unplug from judgment. Judgment, blame is the second lowest state of consciousness. And at that state of consciousness, it's so heavy, it's difficult to see, it's difficult to know, it's difficult to feel happy. It's difficult to feel possibilities. And so spiritual work, of course, my number one thing, I couldn't imagine not living it 24/7, walking in 10 dimensions and just thinking it is literally more important than anything else. However, it can be used for harming and healing. It can be used to, dupe yourself into thinking, well, I'm doing my meditation every day, but I'm still, letting myself be bullied and criticized, and I'm not speaking up for myself, or I'm staying at a job I hate, or I keep thinking I have to sacrifice, struggle, and not do what I want. It doesn't work that way. You can't stand over here believing you're poor and not good enough, and it's because everybody else, but saying, I want money, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, and all these different affirmations, because affirmations are to focus your mind. But if you don't follow it with the energy and the feeling, and you don't realize what energy you're sitting in, what do you truly have in yourself, because we don't get what we want, we get what we are. And since we're the creator of our reality, what we're projecting, okay, it's very literal that the idea of the divine mother, the divine sacred masculine and feminine, and there's a lot of conversation now, very good, that we have to balance these things. We've seen that out of balance on the planet. So we're not blaming men, and we're not saying women are better, and we're not any of that stuff, and we're not blaming the past, and we're not blaming a government, and we're not blaming anybody. You've got to unhook from that. And it's really difficult because people love to blame, and it's the way we were raised. And then you get involved with people who say, well, and I had a beautiful spiritual friend a long time ago that shocked me. I went to this beautiful women's group. We would do these beautiful ceremonies and rituals, and we'd love and hug each other and support each other. And then you'd sit around and you'd chat, and someone in the circle would say, well, don't you just hate it when this happens? Or can you believe that that happened? And she would say, not on planet Jackie. And I would just be, oh, that's not polite. But I learned that from her. I put it in my first book. And I believe that very wholeheartedly, that if you agree with something that is not positive, that is not uplifting, that is not abundant, that is not going to produce more joy or love or health, then you are deciding that's what you want. And you are telling the universe that's what you want. And it's extremely literal. These are infallible laws. And the reason I went through so many mystery schools was because they revealed not just like the structure and almost the science underneath time and form and manifestation, but that you realize everything is already created, and you are a manifestor, not a creator. And what does that mean? You don't need to achieve, you have to dial in, right? To what you make. Manifesting means what is appearing to your senses, what is appearing to your eyes. So how are you feeling? And then it will appear. But people will often say, well, when the money appears, I'll do that. When this person says it's okay, I'll do that. When this person apologizes, I'll stop being a victim because this was done to me. So trauma, it's great that the conversation is on trauma, that it's on the somatic things, that it's on the embodiment. I think this is a good direction. However, every time one of these conversations becomes popular, people start identifying with it, labeling themselves, and then walking around with a new woundology of who I am. And if you're doing it in a way to acknowledge and understand what you're carrying, and then you free yourself from it and you transmute that energy, you pan for the gold from that energy, right? You don't carry the wound with you. Oh, poor me, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. Otherwise, you're just creating more of it. You're literally pulling the past, throwing it in front of you, making the future the same and wondering why. You are the only person inside of you who can change what you think. You're the only person inside of you that can change how you're feeling. And the truth is that when you have these higher understandings, they can feel very abstract and esoteric, and are they practical, and are they really going to show up? But we want to control everything. That's what we were taught. And the old teaching of you don't need to worry about the how, where are you spending all your time on the how? That's another place to really look. Like, where are you stuck to these beliefs that other people have power over you? Who have you given the authority to for creating your life? Who are you blaming, yourself or others? Probably both. That means that all of that energy that could be your wise, beautiful power that is saying, I'm spending all my time brainwashing myself that I'm abundant and I am supported and that my feet are guided and my thoughts are guided and that I'm on my path of bliss and the doors are opening and the perfect people are appearing and I get to play with the people in the field of my bliss and all of those things. It's literally pulling away your attention from what you were taught, from everybody else, and not living their life, not giving attention to what they want. Don't live someone else's life, because the day you die, you're going to realize, oh crap, I just spent my whole life trying to please everybody, sacrificing my time, being over obligated, worried that I didn't fit in, worried that they wouldn't like it. No, they're not. They're not going to like it. If you've been being a doormat, if you've been putting yourself last, and suddenly all the people in your life who love you very much, they're not going to be happy that you just had this spiritual awakening, right? I've suddenly realized that I can speak up for myself, that I can have what I want, that I don't have to be your victim anymore, you know? And they're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? So, you know, I have a client who's been in my prosperity mastermind all summer, and she manifested a new job that was absolutely stunning how it happened, because she didn't go, I want the job, I have to get the job, what did it do? She simply embodied these principles, and pretty soon she's sitting at her current job and people are showing up, and she worked at a bank, and walking up to her desk saying, I told someone about you the other day, I think you would be perfect for this job. And she's like, really? Well, thank you. And that happened 3 times. And she did nothing about it. She just said, wow, that's really amazing. Look at what's happening. And all of a sudden, a job for $50,000 and more a year, and, you know, being the head of the whole thing instead of a branch, and all of these incredible things that we feel like we have to strive towards and pay our dues and all this stuff for, landed in her lap. And then all she had to do was walk through it as if, is this right for me? Can I embody it? What are my fears of stepping into it? You know, that was what we then looked at, because the transition into embodying it. And I was talking to her, did a session with her a few days ago. And she said, I said, well, how's it going? And she goes, well, the job is good and I'm showing up and I know I can do the job, but I'm noticing that I'm carrying guilt. I said, what are you carrying guilt? We don't want guilt in your new job, right? And she says, I'm having a gap in embodying this new role that I am. Because I told her, you have to fully embody this person that you've become, that's manifested all this new money, all this new, you know, this new position and all the things that go with it, because that abundance is available to you across the board in your whole life. But if you're feeling a little bit limited, something could happen that make you not enjoy it, or something else. And she said, well, I'm feeling guilty that I left the people at my last job. I mean, I liked them. I wasn't unhappy there. There wasn't anything wrong, you know? So this is those things that we were taught about not leaving people behind, you know, that somehow our abundance and our happiness and our success is reflecting bad on people, or telling them. And people will like to tell you that. So you've got to look at where you're hooked. You've got old beliefs, right? You've got old vows of poverty. We've all have these things. We've have that idea. You said something earlier about if you're a healer of any kind, even of yourself, you definitely have these lifetimes where you were burned at the stake, beheaded, outcast, blamed, you know, ridiculed, gagged, hung, whatever, name it, dramatic or less dramatic. And what happened every single time that happened to you was you made a decision. You made a decision that became a vow, that became embedded within you with great passion, that is manifesting at an unconscious level, that is saying it's not safe. It's not safe to be psychic. It's not safe to be a healer. It's not safe to have money. Somebody will take it. Somebody will cut my head off. Somebody will, you know, and we may think, well, of course I know nobody's going to burn me at the stake right now. And yet it doesn't matter what kind of retribution might be happening. It's because then you will manifest it from the people around you. You'll have your partner will be critical, or your mother will tell you you're stupid. Or I have a client who drove to get her new car, and she came to my retreat here in March, and she knew her car was failing, and she's lived in England, and she just told her car to get her to the train station, and it did, and then it died. So when she returned to a car that didn't work, and she knew that was going to happen. And in her head, she couldn't afford a new car. And she said, oh, I really want this car. I really want a hybrid, but I can't have it. And she said, wait a minute, I just went to Nan's workshop. I need to think differently about this. Maybe I'll just explore, could I get it and what is involved in me getting it? And she went and researched and realized, I think I could get the car I want. And she was avoiding buying the car she didn't want. Okay?
Mhm.
And this is what we're talking about, is where are you giving up to the mundane? Where are you giving up to just settling? Where are you giving up to not even letting bigger and better things appear in your life? And so the whole way to go get the car, to apply to get the car and look at the car, her daughter was driving her, and they're very loving. They have a great relationship. Her daughter loves her. But her daughter is telling her the whole way, Mom, I don't think you should do this. You're going to be disappointed. It's not going to happen. Right? So you have all of this around you. This is when in your head, the poor girl in your head, this has been in our culture, this has been in your family, this has been around you and will still be around you. So it takes a lot of courage to step into your own abundance. And yet we need you, like Daniel and I here, to step out of that into your path of bliss, because you are a puzzle piece of the universe of creating this new world where we don't do this limitation and we don't keep saying, I can't have it, or I don't know how to get it. You can't
Mhm.
sit over here and say, oh, I really want to go on that retreat with her, but I don't know how to get the money or the time off from my work or who's going to watch my children. If you stand
Right.
here and you do that, it will never happen. It will always be over there. One
Right.
day I will have it. Sometime I will get it. It's coming
Right.
to me. It's going to
Yeah.
always be out there.
It'll happen someday kind of thing. That means you're always keeping it away from you, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm waiting for my ship to come in, right?
Yeah. You're going to wait and wait. And then 10,000 lifetimes, you can come talk to us and say, I'm ready to stop waiting.
Right, I'm ready for my ship to come in, right? Ultimately, that's what happens. And finally, you surrender to the truth that it's been there all along, really. I mean,
Yes.
it's been there all along. All you have to do is say, I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, one time sincerely is all it takes, not 1,000 affirmations. It's one time sincerely could honestly, like sometimes it's just a passing thought where you're just connected, right? You're just, yeah, I want that, and so boom, boom, all of a sudden it happens, right? That's things like how that it's just this idea that we had to measure up to it. It's that deeper, subtle energy. That's one of the things like one of my business coaches actually just mentioned to me, and I was already doing all this sort of thing, but he said, you got to remember, far more powerful is the subtle energy. The far more powerful is the subtle energy than our conscious, just our conscious thinking is titanically more powerful than our conscious thinking. And so when we start utilizing those forces, we realize we can, and we can, unhook all that trauma, the way you help people with that. The trauma that says, no, we can't be that magical. We get hurt when we're magical. Yeah, no, I mean, I would say those lifetimes are done with. We've been there, done that. That ain't this lifetime. It's in the past. It's just a gateway a lot of us pass through together for whatever the reasons are. But we're not in that stuff anymore. It's safe to come out and be who we are. Because I feel like we're in the same language there. Like you're just not being who you really are, right? And for you, you help. What keeps hitting me to just mention is that to the audience is like you help almost 100% women. I mean, you work with men, I'm sure, but like here and there, but you work pretty much primarily with all women, right? So it's like these women, like they've got this desire. They've got these desires that are the deeper desires within the subtle realms, right? I'm just
Yeah.
generically speaking. And they could be drawing those forth, but the trauma says, no, no, you got to take care of everybody else. No, no, we're going to get in trouble for being magical. No, no, right? Like, so
Yeah.
something inside is saying, no, no, we can't have that. And then people try to override it, like you said, with it. No, I'm worthy. But underneath, the far more subtle, powerful energies are there saying, no, you're not worthy, because the spell is still cast. It hasn't been uncast. So you have to kind of uncast the spell to how
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
true desires land, right? So tell them more about how that works in your world.
Yes, well, it's interesting too, because I work with anyone who wants to show up, but it is frequently mostly women.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's not that women have any more, access to this or not. We have a brain that works a little differently and whatever, but we're accelerating so fast. The higher states of consciousness are growing. And my cat is really in love with us for that. Are opening up so quickly that we have access to higher states of consciousness that we didn't even have access to 10 years ago. And everybody can access them. And what's beautiful is that, you know, when we have a life that's been created around a certain type of, okay, let's go somewhere else. Let's go somewhere else, baby girl. We have the ability now to see and sense realities. Say hi, Yishel. This is Yishel. She's my goddess girl.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. We have opportunities available to us that haven't been available before. And like I said, so once we step out of that and listen to that call, like you said, like I'm ready for something new, I'm ready for something different. And if you're a parent, you're used to that idea that you're supposed to be sacrificing yourself for everyone else. And of course, take care of your children. However, what are you teaching your children? Are you stressed out and miserable and unhappy because you're not doing what you want? That you're giving all of your time to them, or you're acquiescing? I have a client who has 2 daughters and a son. And one of her daughters came to her one day, who's 16, and really shocked her. She said, "Mom, why are you such a pathetic, weak woman?"
Wow.
She said, "You know, you just let dad walk all over you. You let all the men in your life just tell you what to do. And then I see you when they're not around and you're strong and you're powerful, but you don't act like it. I'm not going to be like you." Whoa, right? Like, wow. And she realized that, yeah, her husband tells the daughters, "Don't let men walk all over you. You're powerful." But he doesn't say that to his wife because they've been together since they were 18. So their relationship is something that she's used to, that she plays that role. And she's uncomfortable because there's turmoil in the relationship if she tries to speak up or be something different. So this is what we talked about in the beginning. These are some of the biggest hooks that the people that we love, the people that we live with, the people that are in our lives are often very uncomfortable if we are ready to shift into something different. And yet, if you start to embody this, there is a point when your own inner life becomes so much more interesting than everyone else's. Not that you don't care about people, you actually become more loving, you have more to give, you're not draining yourself, you are doing more self-care, you are actually overflowing with energy and abundance that allows you to give more, but not in the way you thought. Because draining ourselves, being overcommitted, this isn't a way of giving because you're limited. You're giving from limit. And you mentioned something earlier about the ways that we've been taught to manifest or make money. And what the world believes in general is a Newtonian physics kind of thing, not a quantum physics thing. And it's the idea that there's a finite amount of resources. So we have lack mentality. I have to get mine, then you can't have yours. I have to control you in order for me to feel better, right? And we see this replicated throughout our rules and our schools and our governments and our systems all around us. Well, we're watching all that fall apart. Yay, and yes, it's a hot mess, and that's okay. This is a metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is melting, okay, everything that was. What happens to that caterpillar? It doesn't know it's a caterpillar anymore. It can't crawl. It doesn't have a body. It loses its shape. It might be going, "Oh my God, who am I now?" Anybody feel that one? Right? Like, I don't know who I am. I started on this spiritual path. I can't go back. I can't go forward. I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh. That's okay. Because there's this imaginal cell in you too, that always you can go back to. And if you follow that bliss, what does that mean? Well, I don't know how to be happy is commonly a thing. Well, what happens is that you start to give up the need, the addiction, right, for other people, for things. Okay, your desires for things change. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting a house or a new car or a wonderful partner. Of course, you can want all that. However, when you put something into that thing outside of you and you say, "That is what's going to be what makes me happy, what makes me safe, what makes me whatever," and you can't control the world. You change and the world changes. You change how you think, how you see, how you feel. You change what you radiate. Now suddenly things are showing up for you that other people don't see. Nobody understood how to manifest a job the way this woman just manifested in my mastermind this summer. All the other people in the class are just like, "What did you do?" Oh my gosh, they saw the whole thing unfold. She didn't go, "Oh, stress and strive," right? So how these things can unfold is not our dominion. We are the alpha and the omega. We are the beginning and the end. We generate the idea. And the idea we started talking about, the world thinks that you create things from things, right? If I work 80 hours, then I'm going to produce more. And it can work. I've done that. Very big workaholic, right? However, it's exhausting and it's draining and it's not prospering. Prosperity means to prosper. To prosper means to grow. To grow means you are in an environment that supports you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We don't expect a plant to grow. We don't expect a seed to grow. If we stick it in dirt, we don't water it, we freeze it, right? We stick it in the sun when it doesn't want sun. We understand that it doesn't grow. But when we stick a seed inside of us in our subconscious in the dark, it's the same thing. It is in a place of nurturing. Are we giving it the environment? Are you saying, where am I not believing this? Where am I doing things that are repetitive and maybe positive? Because I have a client who said, I get up before I get up every day, I think positive things and I do my affirmations. And I was like, excellent. That's an excellent habit that you've developed. But she's been doing the same thing inside of that habit. And she's in a space of like, it's not working. So I said, we need to interrupt the pattern, but not the habit. You've developed a very positive habit and we need to fill it with something new. Right? We need to fill it with something different, something more life-giving, something that isn't like, oh, yeah, I'm telling the same thing over and over. So the truth is that the energies of creating form from the infinite field is that everything is thought, everything is energy, everything is, when it comes in to make something in form, then what happens is it divides into principles. Okay, positive, negative, yin yang, masculine, feminine, right? And we want to create something in form. We want it to manifest in our bodies, in our minds, in our realities. All right. So when you think of this, it's like lovers. It's like the masculine and the feminine. You don't go and expect a woman to give birth to an African American baby who was seeded by a Scandinavian. Okay. Right? You don't go, okay, I put a sperm into that egg that's going to produce a blonde, blue-eyed baby, but I just decided partway through I really don't want the blonde, blue-eyed baby, right? I want something else. What you are bringing to the divine is what it is going to replicate for you faithfully. That mother, that loving presence is going to love you. It's going to say, come into me, I love you. And I'm going to produce, I'm going to replicate, I'm going to birth for you exactly what you are feeling, exactly what you believe, exactly what you are. And therefore, if you keep dragging along all this negativity, all this, I can't have it, underneath all of the positive affirmations, if underneath it, what you're feeling, what you're believing, how you're acting, who you're letting take over your life, that is what the divine hears. That's what the divine mother, or however you want to put it, is feeling. That's the seed that you're planting.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you get up the next day and you have more of the same.
Right, which is something, quite frankly, this last part for sure, people have heard again and again and again. You're just going to get more of this thing. But then people's subconscious mind, or whatever you want to call it, it just keeps producing the same old patterns, the same old way of being. And then, okay, oh, wait a minute, I'm thinking negative. I better think positive now. And then, but it's the momentum is always with the negative. They're still watching the news, buying into the stories, or whatever it is, like, or it's people around them. They're saying, yeah, when are you going to get a real job? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? When are you going to do something different? And you're like, I'm trying to do my thing, and nobody understands, right? So they keep getting, the outside. So that what we're trying to tell you is, hey, go for it, yeah, be you and everything. But their environment is telling them, from the experience of the environment is, it's all like invalidate. Yeah, of course, because it's all like reflecting their beliefs, obviously. Yeah, you need to go, you need to do something different. Clearly, when are you going to get back to work, or whatever it is, and then they're caught in that cycle. So let's talk about, because we wanted to talk about this, like where this all comes from. Like we talked about your story a little bit, today, and we talk about the past lives and the persecution and all that. Where does it come from? I'll say this for myself real briefly is, I've got many past life stuff, things like everybody. But for me, I've had lifetimes in certain areas where, I've outshined others and all that kind of thing. And there's something embedded in me coming into life lesson in this life. Um, Shine bright, but not too bright now, Don't
Mhm.
show off too much now,
That's
If you
very
do-
Midwestern. I got that
if
too.
you're going
You
to
better
show
be the
off,
best, but don't think you're the
right,
best.
right. You could show off for a while, but don't do it too long. Give other people a chance to shine.
Yeah.
You're no better than they are, and all that kind of stuff. And so we got to always put a cap on it, right? Put a
Yeah.
cap on it. No, put the cap back on, so to speak. And so, like that kind of repetition type of thing. But it's all. So if I just try to work with it, no, just quit doing that. If I only address it that way, it may or may not work out, right? It's not as powerful. But with the work you do, with how you help with those type of things, with all the different ways you do that, like you can help them to, dismantle that at a deeper level, right? So I'd love to hear you talk about that aspect of how you help people.
Yeah, so we're talking about cause and effect, right? We're talking about universal laws, and universal laws are infallible. And a lot of people have touched on them or maybe don't know about them. Something that I've dived very deep in and have risen again in this last year for me to go to a new level of understanding them, really understanding the simple truth of this infallible law, and that we have to have resilience. We have to have an ability to get up and do it again until it manifests in our life, and not think, why isn't it here? When's it going to happen? Go back into feeling bad, go back into thinking that, we're not good enough. And I guess they were right and all of that stuff. And that we can say it's easy, but it's not easy. It's simple, because sometimes we think it's too simple. But it is, it's when you're inundated all around you. So I don't know if you were the same way, but in the olden days, I did a lot of business coaching and a lot of success principles. And one of the success principles that was taught, maybe it's still taught, was that the 5 people that you spend the most time with, their income is going to determine your income. So
Right.
you better be hanging out with rich people.
Yep. Heard that one a million times.
A million times, right? So I was doing that. I was hanging around them. And I'll be honest, most people I met were jerks.
Right.
Most of the people, I didn't like them. I didn't like
Yeah.
hanging out with them. Chris
I
was
gotta
saying,
hang
I
out
don't
with
like
you.
these
I need that
people.
money, right?
Like, God, do we have to hang out with these people anymore? Oh, I don't like them. And then, I rose to the top of the profession and I was speaking on all these stages and I started seeing behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz. And I was like, my God, these people are full of shit.
Right.
Sorry. They're, most of these people are lying.
Right.
And they have their own issues, like I said earlier, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when you try to dupe people or bully people or use NLP on people, which is really big right now, right? Hacking and pushing and all the immense amount of information coming in, if you don't develop discernment, and not by shutting down, but literally don't feed yourself that. Do not watch the news. Do not watch all this stuff. Do not ask everybody's opinion, because now you are letting them determine your life, right? And so one day I literally said, I pondered this, and I was sitting in my yard and I'm pondering this and I'm pondering this. And I'm like, some of my favorite people have no money. Some of the people that I think are the most joyful, the kindest, have the most beautiful heart, that do the most generous things in the world, they don't have a lot of money and they don't have a lot of stuff. So I'm not supposed to hang out with them if I want to be successful. However, what are the values I want in my life? What is the quality I want in my life? I would like success in my business, yes, but do I have to sacrifice my happiness, my joy, peaceful, loving people in order to be around people who don't have that, to be successful? So there's all different levels of what we are being shown or told. What successful truths or what beliefs have you handed that over to? Right?
Mhm.
So it isn't any of those things, because it's already done. It is already here. It is already there for you. And when you decide it, and positive thinking is just the first step. Identifying the goal is just the very first step. And underneath that is probably layers of, I don't actually believe I can have what I want. And you may or may not realize that those are there, right? So it's a bit of an uncovering the energy like you do, with the energy scans. You like, okay, but what's underneath that? Or what's behind that? Oh, look, there's a big block over here. And you're going, I want this, and you're working really hard. But when it gets here, it's just going away like, like Teflon, because you don't have a belief that you deserve it, or it's unsafe to receive it. So
Right.
there's layers of this, right? But it's not like, oh my God, it's going to take me 50 years, because time is a illusion as well. We can go backward and forward in time. We can unravel it. We can change the past. We can go access wisdom in the past. We can go talk to who we are in the future. And the most powerful manifesting thing that you can do is to be the person doing and having what you want in body, mind, and spirit as much as you can during your day and before you go to sleep. Because what we were talking about earlier, when you go into sleep, when you go into meditation, when you go into altered states of consciousness, you are going into the subconscious, you are going into the divine feminine, and whatever you are bringing in there is what you are seeding and what will be replicated for you. So if you go to sleep, I can't have what I want, and I don't have what I want, and probably tomorrow it'll suck again, it will. Right? And so I do not let myself go to sleep. Luckily, I don't have a lot of that, but I do not let myself go to sleep until I have changed my energy. I have filled myself full of positive visions, and I consciously drop myself slowly into a space where my body is not moving. I'm almost like a little bit in that paralyzed state, right, between the worlds. And then I fill my mind with the vision of who I am in my ideal, in my optimal. And nowhere in there is the doubt girl saying, yeah, but it's not true. Or what if it doesn't happen? Or what if you believe it and then it would? That part of me isn't allowed. Okay. That part of me has been, hey, go outside. I don't fight with that part of me. I just say, hey, go outside and play. I'll get to you later. Right. And so it's that ability to consistently put yourself in it. You want to manifest something. Here is the formula. I'm going to use my retreat as an example, because it's something that people, if you want to go on a trip, there's more involved than just taking an online class, right? You might want an online class, and you might just have the resistance of the time or maybe the money. However, if you decide to go on a retreat, you have to then arrange your life. You have to leave your life, and you have to deal with the people in your life that may have to take over duties you have and ask for time off, as well as maybe face your fears of getting on a plane, going to another country, traveling as a single woman, and all the other stuff that comes up. So it's a vision quest. It's a shamanic journey. It's a soul quest, because you're going to face all those fears, and just getting to that retreat is going to be transformational on steroids for you, right? So people come to me and say, I really want to come to your retreat in Glastonbury. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is identify what you want. I want to be on that retreat. Why do you want to be on that retreat? Well, I really believe that this is a calling from my soul. I have people who we're doing a fundraiser for who literally don't have the money. Really, really don't have the money. And yet they kept saying, my soul's calling me. I know this is what's meant to happen. So let's surrender to that and believe that there is a future you that's already done it.
Right.
In fact, there's 5 million future yous that have already done it. And that future you who's already done it, which one would you like to tune into? The one that did it through happiness, joy, bliss, support, or the one that was stressed out and freaked out and went there with guilt? Because I've done that. I used to manifest things. I used to go things, but I carried my guilt with me. So there I am in the thing that I wanted. I've manifested it. I've done all the hard work to get there, but I wasn't really enjoying it because I was filled with guilt about it, right? So there's all different ways, but that future you already exists. Anything you can possibly imagine or not imagine already exists. So it's like a GPS, right? You go, that's what I want. Okay, now we know where you want to go. Now go to the end result. Don't stand over here and say, I got to figure this out, and I have to figure that out, and I have to figure this out. Now it's away from you. You go into it. You start to go to sleep as if you're sleeping in Glastonbury. You go to sleep imagining you're holding my hand. I'm hugging you. You go to sleep in the White Springs with us. You go to sleep at the top of the Tor. You go to sleep in all feeling and sensing the food you're going to eat in every possible way that you can, because what it's going to do first is bring up all of those things that are inside of you that say you can't. Wow, the minute I said, I'm going to be there, I felt this fear come up that said, oh, you can't do that, or this bad consequence will happen, because you need to know that those are there. Now, what I want you to do is not stand here and want that. And what I want you to do is not stand here and think, okay, I'm at the retreat. I want you to be on the plane coming home from the retreat. It's already done. That end result. I already have the house and I'm living in it. I already have the lover and I'm enjoying the wonderful orgasms, right? Whatever it is that is your goal, you want to go to the end result and embody that. What is it going to feel like after you have accomplished it, after you have done it, and you don't even have a clue how great it's going to be, but you can start tuning into that, and you're going to be fed more and more from the universe. Now the universe is not only connecting you to that future you, which can then communicate to you how they did it. They can radiate, you could radiate back to yourself energy, right? It's like the sun and the moon. The moon is illuminated by the sun, right? You're taking in those rays of the sun, but you are operating from an already done perspective, and you're feeling it, seeing it, and thinking it, not just over here saying, I'm going to be positive today. I'm going to try to think I can have it today. There's a big difference.
Oh, big time. Yeah, that's because you're in it, you know, when you bring it in, like that's going into those deeper layers where you're connecting where it already is. And what manifests is how you're being, is I think how you said it earlier, and that's so true. So I mean, absolutely, 100%. And so tell people, because I'm looking at our time together, like tell people more about, you do have a retreat coming up. And I mean, the opportunity to really break through is so huge at retreats. That's why I love hosting retreats, going to retreats.
Yeah.
It's a deeper immersion where you get out of the day-to-day, the usual stuff. And then your mind always, I hear what somebody is saying, but you don't understand. I literally cannot manifest. I have kids. I've got all this stuff on my schedule. I cannot break that schedule. There's no way. There's just no way. I just can't, and I will not. But I want to go. But
and that's what we're talking about. You're the one choosing that. You're the one saying, I can't. You're the one I had a lady who wanted to come to my retreats in the Yucatan here, and then COVID hit. And I can't tell you how many people contacted me during COVID and said, oh my God, I wish I had gone. I wanted to go and I kept not going. This lady worked, she always wanted to come in March, and she worked as an accountant. So it was tax season. So she would tell me, but I can't come because it's tax season. So I would say, come in September. And then she'd say, well, I can't come because of some other reason. And then people would tell me, well, I can't come because of my job. And then they would lose their job. And I'd say, perfect, now you're rich in time, come. But I can't come because I don't have a job. I have to go get a job before I can come. Well, you're the one that is throwing all of this nonsense in front of you. And I'm saying it's nonsense, and you can stand in it, and you can fight for your limitations, and you can tell me I'm wrong all day long. But I have had people who are homeless manifest coming to a retreat. Every and anything is absolutely possible if you will stop choosing why you can't. And that is the only thing in your way. Exactly what you just said is all of these reasons that you're choosing to give your power away to, instead of being willing to step out of that and say, what if I actually said, I'm meant to do this? You know, the thing is so interesting because we've been programmed not to do things for ourselves, to feel guilty if it's for us. So the people who are raising funds to come on this trip, they said, gosh, I could go ask people for money if my dog's dying or my mother needs surgery. But me saying, I feel called on the spiritual retreat because I think it's going to heal me and my body and change my life, that's for me. I feel weird. I feel guilty. I feel like people will judge me asking for support around that, right? So if you look at that, how do you feel deciding what you want? That's what we're talking about here. It is right there. You can choose it. Yes, you're going to have to walk through some stuff. Yes, you're going to have to learn some of these things. Yes, you're going to have Daniel or I help you. However, honestly, that is not a million years away from you. It is not impossible. You don't have to wait until your children are grown. You don't have to wait until you've won the lottery and any of the other stuff. When somebody tells me, well, when I win the lottery, I'll come on your retreat, I'm like, okay, good. I'll see you in 10,000 lifetimes.
Right.
Because you're choosing that. You're literally saying to the universe, when that happens, I'll do it. But you're not open to you're being the fly that is hitting your head against the window until you die, instead of turning around and going out one of the 10 doors that are wide open right now. So
Right.
if you want to fight for your limitations, if you want to keep saying, I can't because of this person, because of this reason, because of that, because those are your belief in the limitation. And the limitation isn't true either. It doesn't matter if it's money or time or whatever it is, or support. You don't know the possibilities that can open. I
Money.
love Joseph Murphy.
Yeah.
You know, he says, if you would just get on your path of bliss, you're on a track that's been standing there next to you all along. And suddenly doors start to open that you thought there were walls. And people appear to guide you that you didn't know were there. And they're only there for you. And if you sit in your couch waiting and saying it can't happen, it won't happen, but if it lands in my lap, I'll take it, it is never going to happen. And you're going to die one day wishing that you had stood up and decided to live your life. That bigger calling that we talked about in the beginning, I know I'm meant for something bigger. You are, because you are not a slave. You are not here to be punished. You are not here to suffer. And yes, you know, suffering, that's a qualification, because you're going to go through ups and downs, and people are going to be mad at you, and everything's going to happen, and someone's going to die. That's just a fact of being in a body. But it isn't about, oh, everything is perfect and blissful and nothing bad happened to me again. I thought that one, and then my daughter died, and then I had to go through another realization of, like, we're doing this. However, in each moment, here's where we have free will. You know, that whole idea of free will. You have free will and you have a choice. But the free will and the choice is only to select how you react in the moment and which things you're going to give your power to. But you can't change anything else. You choose, I am going to go on that retreat and I don't know how. And you surrender to, I don't know. It's one of the most powerful states you can be in. I'm ready, I'm willing, and I have no clue.
Right.
Perfect.
Right. Totally. Totally. Yeah.
I feel like I forgot what you asked me.
Knocks out the resistance. It doesn't matter probably anymore. So, okay. So, tell them, yeah, we're going on about this retreat.
That's
and
it. Yeah.
haven't even talked about the retreats yet. So, but directly. So, tell them about your retreat.
Yeah, so it's in October. It's in Glastonbury, England, or Avalon, if you're familiar with King Arthur and the Holy Grail and the Knights Templar. It's this incredibly magical place where the goddess realms are, and the mists of Avalon are, and the dragon lines and the Michael and Mary Magdalene currents are, and there's springs, natural springs that flow 24/7, and we have private access to these gardens and these springs. And I have a beautiful woman who's coming, who's a second generation dowser, who has been a druid and a Celtic woman, and she knows all the stone circles, you know, Avebury and all these magical stargates. And we're going to be opening the stargates, and we're going to be going to the most powerful sacred feminine places, and these ancient pyramids. Yes, there are pyramids there. And we're going to be going, accessing these rare lunar alignments, and we're going to be making wands with a beautiful magical artist there. And we're going to be going to the apple orchards, and we're going to be doing honoring the earth and doing work with the planets and with the earth and with the magical things. And we're going to be going to the goddess house and having sound healings with the Avalon priestesses. And everything that I do is, we don't go as tourists, we go in a sacred way. We're having a wonderful time, where it's a very loving space, and I'm guiding you through it, and we're doing deep activations, and we're doing this because we're on a soul quest. And it's called the Mysteries of Ancient Avalon, Sacred Feminine Magic Retreat. However, it is a soul quest. It's an immersive thing. It's a way of coming out of your reality into a very magical place, into a place that's of great natural beauty, and getting to enjoy that. We're going to climb the tour and watch the things, and we're going to follow the Michael and Mary lines and activate the meridians within us. It's going to be healing your body, your mind, your soul. And every level of this is going to be from whatever reason you're called. There's a lady who does pilgrimages for Mary Magdalene, and she's going to be coming from France after leading one of her own, and she was called to come to this. There's people who are coming because they're ready for healing their bodies. There are people who are coming because they just know that their soul is ready for a new level of joy and fun and leaving that reality behind. So all of the things that we do at these retreats are deep energy work. They're deep magic. We're going to be working with these ancient energies, with these gods and goddesses. We're going to be going to the sacred sites. And all of that is a possibility for you, like you said, to step out of your ordinary world and break those patterns in a completely different way. And not only will you go back just joyful and blissful and just amazed and thrilled that you had this experience, but you won't be the same person, and in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel it. I can feel the transformative power for sure in that. And so we'll put a link into the show notes for the upcoming retreats. Make sure you take advantage of that soon. It's coming up soon, so you want to be starting to check that out right now. Just even an exercise of possibilities, like I already know I'm not going. Check it out anyway. Even check it out anyway. Like just to
Right?
play with the
Listen,
possibility. You
I
don't
love
even
that
need to
idea.
right for you yet. Just check it out as a possibility quest. Do something different than just say, "Oh, it's I won't be able to make it. Forget. I'm not even clicking on that link." Like, yeah, no. How do you know? Like, look into it. Look into it. Just get curious as an exercise.
Yeah. And
Like
how might the divine guide you? What if you went and you read the page and something on the page triggered something for you and
yes.
a
Oh, I
different
need to
door
be there. I'm
opened?
going now, right? Like that's very
Right?
possible.
Right?
Very,
Like you might decide, well, I'm not going on the retreat, but she talked about this thing and that opened this door. I can tell you that I got invited to speak at a conference in Glastonbury, and that's how all of this unfolded. When I get invited to go somewhere, when I go somewhere, I immediately want to do a retreat. Well, this is a very perfect place to do magical retreats. I like to go to sacred sites and I go to pyramids and so on. And so immediately I was like, wow, I could totally love doing a retreat there. That was last November. And what I did was I immersed myself in, well, okay, I watched videos of Glastonbury. I started reading up on the stone circles. I started immersing myself in the energy of there. What's possible? What is there? What could we do? What might we do? What is possible? Right now, when I stand where I am in my life right now, I am shocked at what my life is like compared to then when this unfolded for me. Instead of me saying, well, I don't know if I should fly all the way to England just to speak for an hour at this conference, is it really worth it, or whatever. Instead, I said, wow, is the universe opening a door for me that could lead to something else? I have friends, other speakers in this event. I've met this incredible mentor, this druid woman. I have another retreat that's forming for next year. I have become best friends with the guy who puts this retreats on. I've discovered one of my clients from the past lives there now, and she's putting flyers out for me, and she's going to help me at these things. I decided partway along, I discovered the Goddess House. I spent 28 years in the goddess world, doing ritual and doing, I still love the stuff, but I was consciously like actively in the community. I discovered there's this whole community there and that I could rent rooms at this beautiful place. So I started renting some of the rooms for part of our retreat. And then I realized, oh my gosh, you know what I could do? One day Spirit told me, you could do a class that has nothing to do with the retreat. You're going to be there. I'm going to be there for 5 weeks. I grew up in London. I get to go back to my home. I get to go back and spend some time there. I can go over here and I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff at some sacred circles with some other people. All of these things. I'm going to be at the Stonehenge with a bunch of druids at dawn on the equinox. I mean, magic stuff started to open up in my life because of it. And I'm not just going for the one thing. I'm going because rich harvest of abundance is open to me. So another thing that's possible for people is that on October 5th and 6th, which is just before the full retreat, is I decided, okay. And I asked Spirit to tell me, and they said, rent a room for 25 people for 2 days in the Goddess House on this weekend. So I did. And I thought, how on earth am I going to get people there? I don't know. And it didn't matter. It was like, it doesn't matter how, right? So right now you could join that because I'm going to live stream it and I'm going to record it. So and that is called Wishes Fulfilled, Prosperity, Manifesting Magic. And it is where I'm going to spend 2 days taking you through these kinds of principles that we've just talked about, deeper in a simpler and a new way for you to embody them. And I've just shared that a couple days ago, and you can sign up at a very early bird price right now. And Daniel has that link as well. And that's an opportunity too. And suddenly now people are signing up for the live stream. And I have that container is holding something for people that are inspired and that are showing up in a new way. And I'm able to offer value in this way and in this way and in this way. And I'm connecting with people. And I've been on people's podcasts that are other speakers at this event. So the doors that have opened since I said yes to this one little thing that didn't look like it might be worth my time and money are beyond infinite. And that's possible for you. So if you feel inspired by this or anything else, please just take that step out of your comfort zone and say yes to the universe to at least look at it and let it lead you down the path of your bliss.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it right there. I mean, you just gave the master teaching of how this all works by looking at the possibilities and letting a little what it might look like just another opportunity or a little tiny seed or whatever to, you know, turn into something amazing. So that's what we're talking about here at Spiritual Rockstar. Okay. So check out all the links below for all that. And we're going to go ahead and head into our energy scan segment. Are you ready for a couple of downloads from my channel here today, Dan?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, and this will be for everybody now. There's always something in it for everybody. All right, let's see what comes through. This keeps coming through this podcast, so I'll just go there. You've studied so much stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's funny, you got in the background, you've got this lady. I don't know, if there's a specific, name for the lady or whatever, but this wonderful lady, all this golden energy coming out, this beautiful purple colored, garment dress. I mean, I love purple. I love all that back there. But it's funny, my subconscious kept seeing, I believe it's Osiris in the background as well. Like it kept like going back and forth. And so, so I just see that potency. I think it's the frequency you're bringing today is where it's coming from. And there's this potency of, hey, it's actually like the masculine energy. Like it's like, hey, pay attention. Like, and but there's a magic, that's coming through that trend. I bring that. That's what I do too. Like that's why we get along so well. Like I bring that sort of oomph too, like and so, but I just noticed that Osiris energy today, and so you talk all the feminine stuff, and all that is what you play with too, 100%, obviously. But I'm saying like this other aspect is really powerful as well. This commanding energy, which is really powerful. Whether again, people can debate masculine, feminine. I don't care, but it's like kind of like that feeling of a masculine sort of energy. So I just wanted to bring that little thing up. Okay, let's go to one more download, and then we'll talk. That's great. That's strength. I keep feeling that strength of what I just said. Okay. What else wants to be shared today of the billions of things, billions of stars? They're pointing maybe more into the depth. There's a depth they're showing down, the core energy into the sacral chakra. So there's just a sense of you've got this strong masculine energy you're coming stronger with now, combining with all the feminine, because I think like the feminine was so strong because that's what needed to be developed. Now this is coming out stronger, and so that blend is amazing. Then there's this sense of I want to say even a deeper surrender and a deeper deepening into your core that's happening with this whole blend of this masculine and feminine is what I'm getting. And so there's an openness there for something even a bigger vision than your mind has ever comprehended is how it comes to me. That's dropping into to embody. So yeah, so it's interesting. I bet it'll start dropping in right away, or even on that trip, especially too on this upcoming retreat. I just know it. So if you guys, if you go, let me know what Nan told you about all that. Like something's gonna happen. It'll be fun. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, that's what the things that I was guided to share today.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, everything is both. If we want it in form, it has to be both the sacred masculine and the feminine. And what the sacred masculine does, like that Osiris energy being resurrected by Isis, right? Like, your world can be chopped in a million pieces, and then your partner, your divine feminine, will come find all of you, put you back together. And then he does what? He stands there and says, are you really ready to go to that next life? Are you ready to go to that next world? And you can Of course. And you need to die to the old, though. And you need to realize that you can be resurrected. You can be put back together in a million different ways. You don't have to stay the same person. So I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. It was fun to share with you. Guys, if you want to check me out, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Get your meditate and make money meditation. Open up the beautiful energies. It's just like, yeah, it's all here. You know, like, yeah, that's what happens. Is part of your experience. Typically, often during such a meditation, and the downloads on the money, the strengthening on money, all this stuff, you know, to transcend. People tell me there's coding in that meditation, right? It's like Nan probably hears on her. It's just coding in there. There's something deeper. You get some of that in that free meditation at yoursacredpurpose.com. Meditate and make money. If you want to get some scanning from me and see what I'm seeing for you, get to your Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation with me. I'll take a look, because I know wherever you are now, if you're just starting or not quite established yet, or if you're looking to make that next leap with your purpose and your gifts and your money, you know, I know that I will be able to see what's going on and support you in letting that happen. There's so many people, you know, in all these different places, and everybody's in a different place. Some people are trying to grind it out, trying to find it, and they need to find peace. Maybe you just need to find peace right now. Or maybe you're like, I'm really peaceful, I'm fine. But you're sitting there complaining every day about what you have not accomplishing in your life or in your purpose or in your business. I could tune in, I could find what those hidden blocks are. Get your Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation. You can find that at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right, great. So Nan, this was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I love the house of fire you brought forth today on this show, the way you brought it, all the wonderful things. Any, you know, quick last thoughts today here on a roll today?
Woo, yeah, right. Well, I love the fact, like, this new class is called Wishes Fulfilled. And the reason for that is that that's the state you want to embody. When we talked about all these different practices, all these different things you can do, you might say, oh, I've heard that before, or I tried that. You didn't. Not from who you are now, not from the way that we are sharing that. And that's the state you want to embody, that your wishes are fulfilled. What will it feel like when you stop doubting, when you find all those parts of you that are causing the negativity to come in and interrupt you of having your wishes fulfilled? And your wishes may unfold in ways you didn't imagine, and it's going to be better. So stay fluid, stay open. If you feel, like Daniel said, if you feel called to the retreat, go look at it, because maybe you'll come to the retreat, or maybe something else will open up for you. Maybe you'll be inspired to do a retreat. Maybe some other door is just waiting to just touch that little bit of magic to you. So you do have a fairy goddess mother. Maybe it's me, but we all do. And that's a part of us that is watching over us, that is a guardian, that wants the best for us. And the universe does. And the universe isn't going to argue with you about the limitations that you believe you have. It's just going to say, I'll give you whatever you want. So embody that your wishes are fulfilled and walk towards that until it is true.
Yes, those are those fairy god mothers and whatnot. Yes, they're just like, your wish is my command, so to speak. Like, they're just waiting for you to play the way that Nan just laid it out there. So that's phenomenal. I'm so grateful you came on the show today, Nan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Lots of love.
Thanks. And for the rest of you, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.